Hello everyone, and welcome to my next video. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to create an organized desktop like I have here. Now, there's no one right way to go about it in terms of layout, but I have a few sort of tips and tricks on how to get, high quality images for it and where to find cute stickers and stuff like that. So, yes, let's jump right in. So, to start off with, I'm going to run through all the software that we're going to be using for this tutorial. Starting off with, obviously, your web browser. You're going to need to be able to Google images and find websites and stuff. And then you will also need either Photoshop or GIMP or you can use Paint Tool Sci even, Clip Studio, whatever. For this tutorial, I'll only be showing you in Photoshop, but if you would like a follow-up on how to create these things in GIMP, then I will gladly do that. And then finally, you'll need a website where you'll be wanting to find your high-definition wallpaper, because depending on the resolution of your monitor, you'll need a different size for the wallpaper. Now, the website that I recommend is PX Fuel or Pix Fuel, whatever, because they have pictures from, most fandoms, most aesthetics, and it's pretty easy to search for stuff. Next, for the stickers, for this tutorial, I decided I would create a Sailor Moon themed wallpaper. And two great places to find stickers, provided that you're only using this for personal use and not going to be selling it, because obviously, copyrighted products and whatnot, is Line, the Line store, which is where you can find some really cute stickers, and they have lots and lots of them, or on Redbubble. You can just search for stickers and then whatever fandom you want, and there'll be plenty. In this tutorial, I'll also be showing you how to remove any backgrounds that might be there on your stickers, but that'll come a bit later. And then finally, you will need a font for the header name bits of your blocks, of your organization blocks. So in my case, I already have some fonts that I like, but a website that I would always recommend is DaFont, because you can filter by style, and you can also search. Like, I think if you want to look for cute, for example, you'll find a lot of sort of cutesy style fonts, like you can see here. So yes. Okay, so my tip for actually starting off is I would recommend taking a screenshot of your desktop, or at least the desktop of your primary monitor. Now, I have two, and they're different sizes, but my primary one is bigger than my secondary one, so I'm going to be using the size of the primary one to go off of. So, for me, I'm just going to press print screen to take a screenshot, and it'll be added to my Dropbox. But if you would prefer, you can take a screenshot in a different way, or if you have Gyazo, you can right-click on it and capture image, and then just drag from one end to the other, and that'll also take a screenshot for you. And then you can right-click, copy image, or you can save it. I'll just save it for now to my downloads, and I'll name it Desktop Wallpaper Base. Just something that, makes sense to you. Anyway, and then I'll open Photoshop, and then I will go to where I saved my... Oh, I can delete that one. Where I saved my screenshot, and I will just drag it in, like so. And now you have a file that is the correct resolution for you. So if I go to canvas size, you can see what the size currently is. Next, I'm going to navigate to the image that I decided I want to use as my background. If I can find it. Here. So the image that I've chosen is this one. because I thought it was really pretty. And again, I'm just going to drag it in. Make sure you're dragging it into the area of this file, because otherwise it will create a new project, and you don't want that. So I'm just going to drag it in here, and it'll import it as a smart layer, and you can just press OK, and you'll see it's a smart object. And then if you want to, you can resize it around however you want, you know. Let's say you want a more zoomed in effect. You know, whatever you're feeling. I actually quite like it zoomed out. Now, for your wallpaper, I would recommend picking something that is either muted in the color palette, or that, you know, isn't too busy, or that is minimalistic or something like that, because otherwise even if you are creating the little squares to put your apps in, it can become a bit overwhelming for the eyes, and it can be a bit difficult to find what you're looking for, just, you know, speaking from experience. So anyway, now what we're going to do is we're going to save this file. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to just copy the direct link to that, because I can't be bothered to go and hunt it down. And I'm going to call this Sailor Moon Desktop Wallpaper. Organised. Desktop wallpaper. There we go. And make sure to save frequently, because especially if you're working with a higher resolution monitor, the file can get a bit big, you know, and at least for me, Photoshop has been known to crash when working on these. So, yes. Next, what I'm going to do, because I have my apps where I want them, I can use this as a reference for where to put my squares. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lower the opacity of this, like so. So I can still kind of see where the bits of the wallpaper are that I want to see, but I can see, you know, the apps. And then I'll start creating the shapes. So, in order to create the squares, I'm going to come down here to the rectangle tool. And if yours isn't set to rectangle tool, then just press and hold and drag over to rectangle tool and release, and you'll be on the rectangle tool. And so now, if you're freehanding where you want your apps to go, then, you know, you can just drag wherever. But for me, I'm going to sort of try and center it around the apps, and I'm going to press and drag out a rectangle around my apps. And if I want a bit more of a margin, then I press Alt and drag, and then you can free drag. If you want to retain the aspect ratio, then also press Shift. So Alt, Shift, and drag, and the ratio will stay the same. So I'll just drag this out a little bit. I'm releasing Shift because I don't want it the same. And release, and there you go. So now I'm going to click on a different layer to just get rid of these guides. Okay, and I'm going to press Alt, and my middle mouse scroll wheel, I'm going to scroll to zoom in a bit. Alternatively, you can press the space bar and Control, and then drag your left hand mouse button in and out, and it'll zoom you in. And I think I want slightly more rounded corners, so to do that I'm going to go back to the rectangle tool, to the rectangle layer, and making sure you still have the rectangle tool selected, I'm going to hover over one of these points and click and drag in, and it'll drag them all proportionally in line with each other. Now, if you want one more curved than the others, then you must come down to Properties. If yours isn't here, then go to Window and Properties. And here you can see this button, which links together the corner radius values. Now, if you uncheck this and you hover over one of these, you'll see these little arrows come up. You can press them and drag them, and it'll individually scale that corner. So say, for example, if you wanted a more cyberpunky effect, for example, you could do something like this. Now, I don't want that, so I'm going to press Ctrl Z. But yes. So, opening the Properties panel back up, I can now choose a fill color, so I'm going to quickly hide the apps overlay. And I'm going to click in here, and then I'm going to click on this. And now you can see that the cursor has changed to an eyedropper tool. So what I would suggest for the square foldery background color is I would either pick one of the darkest or one of the lightest colors in your background's color palette, or of a complementary color swatch. So in my case, one of the darkest colors is in her tricot, I think it's called, the scarf thing on her uniform. So I'm just going to hover over here and click, and it'll pick that color, and press OK, and it'll change to that color. Now, if that still isn't dark enough for me, I can always come here and click here again and darken it myself. And OK. And I like that a lot more. So now I'm going to Alt, middle mouse button, scroll out. And if you want to pan around the artwork, just press the spacebar key and your cursor will change into a hand. And then press the left mouse button and you can move it around. So now I'm going to press V or press this button up here to go back to the direct select tool, so to speak. And I'm just going to duplicate this by dragging it down here to this plus button and create a new layer, and I'm going to reactivate this, and I'm just going to move this to where I want my next set of want my next set of apps to have a background. And I'm going to go back to the rectangle tool, and it'll reactivate the selection area, and I can just drag it to the size I want it to be. Now I'm going to start off small and then make it bigger, and it's a bit fiddly, but that's normal. And you can take your time with this, you know. Now I want it to snap here to be the same height as this. So I'm just pressing Alt to proportionally edit both sides, and it snaps here because under View, Snap, I have Snap activated, and if you choose Snap to, then you want it to snap to layers because this is a separate layer. So make sure you have that activated if you want it to snap. If you don't, then, you know, don't bother with that. Anyway, so I'm just going to speed through quickly and create all the boxes that I want. And then I'll be back once that step is done. Okay, now that I have all of my boxes drawn out, I can go ahead and either hide or delete this layer. I'll just hide it for now. And now you can see that they're covering up quite a lot of the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the first one, and I'm going to press Shift, and I'm going to click on the last one, and it'll select all of them. And then I'm going to press Ctrl G to create a group out of all of them. And I'm just going to drag the opacity of that group down a little bit, so you can still see Miss Sailor Moon through them. And now we can go about creating the text headers for each of the boxes. Now, you might have a different layout to me, so your headers might be slightly different. But in my case, I'm going to have my primary apps here. I'm going to have my secondary apps here. I'm going to have my recycling bin here. And then these two are free boxes for example, a motivational quote, or I don't know, an image from a fandom that you like, or a few images even. So yes, I'm going to start with my apps. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to switch to the text tool by either clicking here or pressing T. And I'm going to click, and I'm just going to type out title for the time being. And then I'm going to press V or press over here and drag it to the center of here. Now remember, we activated snap to layers, so it will snap to the middle of this box. And then I'm just going to Control T to resize it a bit. And enter. And now I can play around with the font. So to do that, I'm just going to come up here and click this. Let me move this out the way a bit first. I'm going to click this, the drop down, and I'm just going to pick a font that I like. And if yours seems to be stuck on uppercase letters like mine, then come down to the character tab, or if it's not showing for you, again, go to Window and Character. And I'm just going to deselect this. And now you should be able to see it. Now, for me, my text is right bound, which I don't want. I want it to be center aligned. So I'm going to just change that and then move it to the center again. And now I can move this back here. And I can play around with the text until I like the style and the size and so on. I'm just using the arrow keys to make slight adjustments to the positioning. And now I'm going to change the name to apps. And I'm going to press V. And I'm going to Alt drag the text, and it'll create a new layer for me. And I'm just going to drag this down. And here I'm going to type motivation, because I'll put a quote here. And then I'm going to Alt drag this again and center it to this square. I'm going to name this Love for the fandom box. And then these two don't really need titles for me. Again, if you want to add them, then you absolutely can. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to click, shift click, and I'm going to scale all of these down a bit, because I've now experienced what it's like to have text that is far too big. And I don't need that anymore. So, now I'm going to group these again with Control G. And I'm going to name the groups quickly. So this is going to be text. And these are going to be folders or bubbles or, you know, whatever. I'm going to rename this to BG. And then this I can delete. So, remember to save. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, like I have here, these inner frames. And thankfully, these aren't too difficult to create. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this folders tab. And I'm going to open it. And I'm going to call this inner frames. So now I'm going to pop open the properties tab. And I'm going to click on them. I can shift click and change them all at once. And I'm going to click on the fill. I'm going to come up here to no fill and click that and click out and then go to stroke, and I'm going to select white. Now this is going to be too far out, but that's okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control T, and pressing Alt I'll hover over a corner and drag this in to where I want it, and then just scale it kind of how I want it to be. Pressing Shift Alt to drag in both sides. And enter. And if the borders are too rounded for you, then just go back here and scale them out a little bit. And then I will hover over something else to see, do I like the look of that? Yes. Okay. So now I'll go and do the same thing for all of them, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, now that I'm done, I can close this again. And now what we have to do is we have to create a border around the text to hide these frames. So what we're going to do is we're going to open our text folder, and we're going to press Control and hover over the T icon here, and you'll see the icon of the cursor will change. And if you click with Control pressed, it'll select around that text. So we're going to do this for all of the layers. Press Control on the first one and then Control Shift for all the further ones, and it'll become a little plus icon, and you can select all of them. And next we're going to go up to Select, Modify, Expand, and I'm going to expand it by, let's try 20 pixels first. Okay, and next we can close the the text folder again, and we can go to inner frames, and what we're going to do is we're going to invert our selection so that only everything else but the text plus margin is selected. And to do that, we're going to go to Select and Inverse, or you can press Control Shift I. And then with the inner frames folder selected, I'm going to click on this button here to create a mask. And as you can see, the border that runs behind the text has disappeared. So, now that we have our borders and our text complete, we can get to the fun bit, which is the stickers. So, to do this, I'm going to create a new group by just pressing this over here. And I'm going to name it Stickers. I'm going to create a new layer. And I will just pick out a few of the stickers that I like. So, if you found a sticker that you like, and you want to get the source image, what you can do is you can right-click on the image and go to Inspect, if you're in Chrome, that is. I'm not entirely sure how it works in other browsers, but in Chrome you can right-click and search, and then, using this icon over here, you can direct select the element that you want, which in this case is this image. So you click it, and it'll direct you to the JPEG, or the PNG, or whatever the original file is. Now, hovering over the direct link, you can right-click, open a new tab, and you'll have the image. Now, don't worry if it's a little bit fuzzy, because we're going to be scaling it down anyway, as it's only going to be a small sticker on the desktop. So, I will just right-click and save image as, and I will go to my... where is it? Here we go. I will go here and I will save this as sticker 1. And I will close out of here and find another sticker that I like. For example... this one. I think that one's very funny. So again, right-click, inspect, use this to find the direct link if it's not there already. Hover over the link, right-click, open a new tab, and then right-click, save image as, sticker 2. Now, I will go through and do this with the rest of the images for my stickers. I'm only going to use maybe 3 or 4. I would recommend not going overboard, because again, it can make it a bit visually chaotic and you can lose track of the apps that you're looking for. So yes, again, also I'm going to quickly save. So yes, I will go through and find the images that I want, and I'll be back after that. Okay, now that I have my stickers picked out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open each of them in a new tab in Photoshop and show you how I go about removing the background. So to do this, I'm going to click one and drag it into the top bar, and it'll create a new file. And I'll just do this for all of them quickly. Again, you can Control or Shift click to select multiple files and drag them all in here, and it'll open individual files for each of them. So I'll start with sticker 1. In order to edit the layer, you have to click this little lock here so that it unlocks the layer. And next what I'm going to do is I am going to use the background erase tool. So to do this, press E or come down to the eraser here and press and hold and go to the magic eraser tool. Sorry, not background, magic eraser. And then if you click, it'll remove all the background. Now I think there are some settings that you can make. But I can't find them right now. So if it removes the white as well from inside the sticker and you don't want that, you can create a new layer underneath that area and just fill that in with white yourself. Like so. Shift F5 to fill. Switch to foreground color and fill. And then you can Shift select both of the layers, right click and merge layers. And then what I would recommend is converting it to a smart object by right clicking and convert to smart object. And now if I press V or press over here, I can drag this layer to the first project and drag it in, and it'll create a new layer for us. Now, if it's a little bit untidy, you might have to play with the settings a little bit to get rid of it. So I'll undo that, and I'll undo all of this, and I'll show you a second method, which is the Smart Select tool. Now, if you come down here, it'll be the Object Selection tool, and you want to switch from mode Rectangle to mode Lasso. And then if you have a pen, tablet, this is a lot easier. If you have a mouse, it is doable. You can drag around the subject. Now, if you have a very complicated sticker, this is going to be painful. Now, I'm using my mouse, and it's not 100% accurate, but it's, you know, it's fairly accurate. And then pressing Alt, you can remove bits that accidentally get in. And pressing Shift, you can re-add bits that you do want. There we go. Select it. Come on. Remove that. And there we go. And now we're going to use our invert selection trick. Control Shift I. And we're going to press delete on the keyboard. And now Control D deselects. And you can see there's a little bit of fuzziness here. And the best way to fix that is just by duplicating the layer to build up the opacity there. And then I can merge these. And again, convert to a smart object. And I can drag this over to the first layer. And you'll see it's not perfect, but it works. There is a third method, which is the quick selection tool. And this one isn't very exact. Well, none of them are super exact, but it allows you to paint your subject, basically. So I'm just dragging my mouse over it, and it'll very quickly make a selection. Now, again, it's not entirely precise, and sometimes you end up with little bits of alpha areas. And like here, this can be a bit, you know, unpleasant to work with in the corners. But it does work. So again, invert, delete, convert to smart object, and drag over. You can see it's got a bit of a sort of fuzzy edge. So my preferred method is the first one, which is to just erase the whole background. Sometimes it can help if you create a color mat under it that's, you know, a contrasting color, for example, green. And then you can see where it's missed. And you can go back in with the eraser tool and it'll just, like you can select a stray pixel and it'll select the rest of those as well. Or you can play with the tolerance here. I keep mine on 32, it generally does a decent job. And then again, I'm going to just create a white background here with Shift F5. Let me switch this to white. Fill. And it's not perfect, but, you know, you can go in with the lasso tool and individually select the bits that you don't like and delete them. But I can't be bothered to do that right now. So, this is basically the extent of the effort that I'm going to put in. So, selecting these two layers, I'm going to merge them. And then, if you double click on the layer, it'll bring up the layer style tool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to stroke. And if your sticker before had an outline, then this will basically reinstate that. And again, this is why I prefer the Magic Eraser tool, because it creates less of a fuzzy edge. It's sort of more, it's sharper, I guess. So yes, this is really, in my opinion at least, the best option here. So I will just play around with the thickness until I like it. Again, you can use the arrow keys to move up and down, or you can drag. Or you can click in here or drag this. I think that looks okay. And press OK. And then I'm going to convert it to a smart object. There we go. And I'm just going to drag this in here. So, I will now do this for the rest of the stickers. Again, using the Smart Eraser tool to just remove this. And I'll be back in a bit. Okay, now that we have all of our sticker layers complete, oh, I need to delete that, we can start placing them. So, to do this, I'm just going to press V, or again use this, and I'm going to drag them around to sort of roughly where I think they'd look cute. If you end up realizing that you have too many stickers, you can always delete one. But yes, for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Ctrl T, and just scale them all down a little bit. And you can rotate them by just hovering slightly outside of the corners, and your cursor will turn into a curvy arrow, and if you drag, it will let you rotate. So I'm just going to go through and position this text and these stickers where I want them, making sure not to, you know, go too overboard. Which, as far as I'm concerned, is always difficult because I'm a bit of a maximalist. But yes, so, you know, for example, something like that. You can always go crazier if you want to. But yes, I think for me that's enough. And now you can fill in the motivation and love tabs. Again, I'll create a new folder. And you can, you know, you can Google a quote that you like. and type that here. And for the love tab, you can find, you know, I don't know, something you feel an affinity for. And you can add that in there. So I will just go ahead and do that now, and then I'll get back to you in the end. Okay, so now that my wallpaper is done, I'm going to export it by going to File, Export, Export As, and I'm going to save it as a PNG because it's lossless, meaning that depending on your resolution, the quality won't go down unless it's, you know, hugely bigger than this. So make sure it's set to PNG and export. Here we go. And I'm just going to save this as the name of the file. So save. And there you go. Remember to save one last time before closing. And now if I close this, I can right click, personalize, and I will go to background, browse photos. I will navigate to where I saved it, select it, and choose picture. And there you go. So now you can, you know, reorganize whatever you need to reorganize in my case. But yes, that's basically it for this tutorial. If you would like to learn how to do this in GIMP, then I will gladly help you with that. Or if you have any suggestions for other software that I might have, then, you know, leave a comment below and maybe I can help you with it. Or maybe I can make a video about it, or, you know, something like that. So yes, if you made it this far to the video, then thank you so much for watching. And I will catch you next time. Bye!